Hello. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Stephen from Laboratories Canada and Mark from Shared Services Canada. And so I'd like to start with a quick fire question. Would you please remind us of the role of Laboratories Canada and the link with the partnership you have with Shared Services Canada?
Thank you. Laboratories Canada is a 25-year all-of-government strategy looking to strengthen and promote collaboration amongst the federal organization and their national and international partners. One of the objective is to provide these federal researchers with facilities that are world-class, state-of-the-art, same with technologies, to enable them to do their research, to create knowledge, and even sparks innovation. To do this, obviously, information technology is extremely important. And this is why the Shared Services Canada, the agency responsible to provide digital services to the government, created their science program. And this is why I brought Mark along with me today.
Yeah, thanks. As Stephen said, I mean, listen, you can't push the idea of delivering great science in Canada without understanding that you need to improve the digital experience for scientists. And how do we help scientists and researchers become more competitive with other parts of the world? You know, from the Laboratories Canada mandate and from the Shared Services Canada mandate, you know, the answer is we have to create this world-class digital experience. And so Shared Service Canada is the biggest IT provider in the government of Canada. We have a lot of expertise in how do you go about delivering that type of service. And so we're really happy to be partnered with Labs Canada and help them meet that mandate of these great, exciting world-class facilities where scientists can have access to tools that they'd have in any other part of the world.
You touched on digital science quite a bit. It leads into the next question. Talking about trends, how are you future-proofing the design of new laboratories, and why is it so important to keep up with the digital trends and support the digital science?
Future-proofing happens for us in two spaces. One, it's for the new facilities we're building, and secondly, it's in the virtual ecosystem that we're also trying to modernize for scientists. In the first one, all of the new facilities we are building, we're making sure that they're scalable. And the challenge here is the fact that, you know, building a building, you plan for 5 to 10 years, whereas for IT, it's usually a shorter time frame. So in doing this, the key point is to make sure that we really understand the science that will happen in these new facilities, making sure we understand how much data it will generate, how much data it will consume. And a good example for all of this, it's the server room, right? When we plan for a new facilities in 10 years from today, do we put a server room in the plan, knowing that cloud is about to, you know, meant to replace all of these local compute rooms? This is the space we're looking at, consulting with the community. And right now, where we're at on this, by the way, we're looking at hybrid model, understanding that there's always going to be a need for local compute. But that was just an example.
Yeah, I'll build off that. I'll say that, you know, I think we realize that it's very difficult sometimes for the federal government or any big organization to sort of future-proof, especially in the space of, you know, IMIT, digital, you know, just that space is evolving so fast. So if any one of us were stopped on the street and said, okay, you know, in 3 years, what's the new trend going to be? I think we'd all struggle a bit, right? Because it's just constantly changing. So with that in mind, you know, we're really trying to figure out how do we engage the community and build things that are, you know, modular, they're small, they can change, they're more agile. How can we have partnerships with private industry where we're leveraging the pace of change that private industry pushes? So examples of that is what my colleagues started to allude to, you know, in the cloud space. You know, this is this idea of being able to consume services from private vendors where, you know, companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, you know, big organizations, you know, they're working really hard to constantly provide the most up-to-date service that's competitive around the world. And we know then the strategy for researchers and scientists in Canada is to create, you know, a digital experience where they have access to those services. So it's not really us trying to create the newest trend. It's just us ensuring they have access to them. And so at a minimum, you know, we'll have federal researchers who have the same level of advanced services, be it quantum that's emerging or being stuff tied to AI, machine learning, that anybody in the rest of the world would have access to.
Thank you. And in your opinions, what would be the challenges of information management and information technologies modernization?
You want me to start?
Sure.
Well, listen, I think there's a lot of challenges. First off, the government of Canada isn't really the same as other organizations. We're always trying to do kind of like the best we can, as in, put out products and services that are, fair and transparent in terms of procurement for citizens, or meet official languages, or have accessibility in mind, which is great. And that's fundamentally why the government of Canada has, kind of this high bar that it needs to meet. But I must admit that creates, sometimes some challenges around how do you be really innovative? How do you take risks? And so I think for us, we see that the answer to some of this is tied to, again, that building up a community with people, working with private industry, working with other levels of government, and helping put in place kind of a mentality of how do we get over some of those challenges that emerge. I think you had some specific challenges you wanted to talk to, funding, policy.
Yeah. Funding, it's really a challenging item in this category. In the IT world, funding is always prioritized for the operational need, the hardware fixes, and there's always very little left for innovation. So this is why it's very important to engage the community to kind of work together at collecting, what's left of the IT funding to promote innovation, and work together at removing those silos, removing the duplication of effort, and making sure that we concentrate on what can help and accelerate time to science.
Yeah, specifically on the policy side, I think a challenge that the federal government has faced in the past, and we still face a bit, is, we tend to have the capacity to make big capital investments. So we get money from the government for big investments up front. And traditionally that made a lot of sense. If you're buying, let's say, many servers for AI or quantum computing, then that might be a $50 million investment. But more and more, with the way we're accessing services, we're accessing them through a subscription based. So that means now, you have a cost per month, but you don't have a big cost up front. And so that's a challenge right now. We don't quite have the appropriate procurement and policy methods in place to allow us to take advantage of where the rest of the world's going.
Okay, nice. That was an excellent answer, because it covers a lot of the next question, which is, how would you plan to overcome some of those challenges? I heard reach out to the community and also the government to help promote innovation. Would you have anything else?
For sure. Change management is key here. We're dealing with researchers and scientists who are used to advance their science in their lab with their equipment. And here we are trying to promote enterprise solutions or solutions. So we need to build trust. We need to build trust and make sure that we really engage the community toward that trust, so that when the researchers are ready to use these new innovative solutions, they really deliver on what was promised to them, right? They need to be effective, agile, and to be able to do what they do. We want researchers and scientists to concentrate on doing science, not IT. So that's...
Yeah, I'd say also, there's no magic answer to that, right? There's definitely challenges that have persisted for a long time. And I think the things that tend to work are some of the basics, make sure you're demonstrating value so people can see why this is a good initiative. So I know we put a lot of time and energy into different kind of pathfinders where value is demonstrated really quickly. The researchers, the scientists can give us feedback. We can make sure we're on the right path. And we know then at the end of the day, when a bigger investment's made, we're going to provide them something that they've wanted. So I think that's a key. And that leads to then building momentum and getting people on side. And then they become advocates for you, right? So if you're engaged in the community and you're showing them value, they'll turn around and talk to others around why this makes sense, why this is an investment that should continue. So I think those are some other key pieces. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's no magic answer to some of the things we're raising. I think it's just a willingness to sort of stay committed and have perseverance to, show that this kind of mission we're on is really worth it. It's important for Canada. And so finding the right key leaders And I don't just mean ourselves, I mean leaders in the community who can be champions of the different initiatives that we're working on. That helps a lot, because then, the collection of a bunch of people and the motivation and persistence that they show helps kind of overcome the things that we described.
To finish on, we certainly have to discuss about also the importance of protecting our intellectual property and making sure that our IT system are secure. So this by itself can become a barriers to collaboration, and this is why it's so important for us to work with the community and enabling them with collaboration platform that will take this into consideration and allow them to continue.
Thank you. And I have an extra question that is off script, if you will, if it is relevant. When you are advocating for your added value, when you reach out to the communities, do you think it is an added value that is short-term, more long-term? Is it pretty balanced? What time span are we talking about, if it is quantifiable?
I can start, sure. No, it's a great question. I think both of us aim for both a short-term and long-term kind of value add that is sustainable for the long run. I mean, the Labs Canada program itself is like a 25-year program, so obviously from that perspective, that's long-term. But I think even longer than that, like the mandate that we're kind of on in terms of how can we help scientists at the federal level or researchers, deliver world-class science that helps Canadians. Like, I think that's a mandate that continues for forever, maybe, right? And helps Canada, have an excellent place on the world stage in terms of, the science and the value it delivers to other countries. So from that perspective, I think we're really aiming long-term. We don't want it to just be, something that, shows value tomorrow. Like, we need this kind of to continue and have momentum way beyond us.
Absolutely. Long-term is the key here, and it's all, again, related to that trust we need to build. We are not, we're offering a service to the science community from an IT service delivery perspective. So, we support science, we don't do science. So it's very important to build this relationship with the community so that they know we understand their needs and that we can be good advocate for them within our organizations and with other organizations as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd just also add, one of the things we're trying to change a little bit is also how we work together. Like, can we work together more smartly? And so, that means, pooling our energy, our resources, our talent to build services, digital solutions that benefits everyone. And instead of it kind of what we see today a bit, which is things tend to be a little more siloed. If we can change that culture, I think that also itself is a big, long, sustainable thing, because then you have these big enterprise Canadian-wide services that everybody buys into and contributes to.
Nice, thank you very much. And it kind of leans into the last question, which is for Stephen. In your opinion, what is your opinion of the value of the CSPC and its position in the community for convening, connecting, and capacity building in the science and policy landscape?
It's amazing.
CSPC is very key to allowing us to network and to share knowledge, share information with our partners, with our colleagues, whether it's we're all at this intersection of science, policies, and information technology, and connecting those dots between everybody else that is working in the same space is critical to the success of improving the ecosystem for the digital science ecosystem for our researchers. So a conference like this one today, like whether it's walking the hallway or listening to the session, I mean, we're all making new connections to allow this knowledge to be shared, and it's wonderful.
Thank you so much. That was the right answer. No, just kidding. Thank you so much. That concludes the end of this short interview, and I'm so glad both of you got to participate and let me interview you.
Oh, merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Merci.